Hey guys, what's up? I'm just making this video today to tell you that I am quitting YouTube for good because Misha, aka the Pokemon Go God, has roasted me so hard that I can't do it. From now on, I will only make videos where I talk about how much I love everyone. But seriously, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the gosh darn internet. Today's going to be a more serious video because today we're going to be talking about one of the documents that I think is, no sarcasm, one of the greatest political documents of all time. Of course, we're talking about none other than Federalist 10, written by none other than the man, the myth, the used car salesman, James Madison, aka Mr. Savage himself. But without any further ado guys, just sit back, relax, prepare to be enlightened, and let's read this document. Read it! So if you guys haven't been living under a freaking rock, then you know how our Federalist system works, but for those of you who don't, let me explain. Basically, you have the central government and the state government. They're both separate and relatively equal in power. The system is really good at making sure that the federal government, the states, or even any of the individual states actually gets too out of hand. Madison also says that it literally creates world peace, cures cancer and freaking AIDS, fixes world hunger, and all around just saves the entire freaking world. No, but seriously guys, when the founding fathers were drafting the Constitution, Mr. Sensible here said we should have the system we have today, straight up for multiple different reasons. But in Federalist 10, he says one of the biggest reasons is that he wanted to keep factions from getting too crazy as well. If you don't know, factions are basically just political parties like Republicans and Democrats. And he wanted to keep them from pretty much straight up just taking control of the entire country. So right off the bat, basically Madison is saying that the only way to actually get rid of factions would be to either straight up get rid of people's rights to an opinion, or just force every person to have the exact same freaking opinion. So basically it's like, yeah, these factions are a big problem, so let's get rid of them by literally getting rid of free speech. Or better yet, let's just make everyone exactly the same as each other. Yeah, but seriously guys, obviously this isn't gonna work either way, and if you're gonna have freedom, well, you're just gonna have people forming different opinions. But this is a pretty big problem if a huge group of people decide that their faction is going to advocate for literally making it illegal for people named Calvin to vote. Obviously, that's just one example of how factions could go wrong, but you get the idea. And if these insane people somehow make up the majority of the population, then they might be able to elect someone who will literally make it illegal for people to vote just because of their freaking name. Well, at least that would happen if it weren't for Madison's Federalist system. Madison says that since we're not going to literally destroy free speech to get rid of factions, we need to figure out how to make sure they don't take over the United States and pass laws to literally start executing people just because they think their name is stupid. But seriously, these people are obviously a very slight minority if they even exist at all. But if they do, they're not going to be able to push any of their agenda because absolutely no one will agree with them, so they won't be able to change anything with their vote. But if they were, well, shoot. They would probably control the country because there'd be nothing to stop them. At least, there'd be nothing to stop them in a pure democracy. But again, we don't live in a pure democracy where the people decide literally everything. We live in a Federalist system, and Mr. Sensible here figured out how to keep that from happening, at least to some extent. First of all, we live in a republic, which is governed by elected representatives. That means that instead of factions ruling the country, it's actual qualified people. We know that they're qualified to govern because they have to be elected. No one who runs for office and says, I'm just doing this for the lulz, or together we can bring back institutional racism, is going to be elected, unless like the freaking KKK becomes the majority of the country, in which case, well, crap. And I know what you're about to say, but Leafy, what if the KKK does become the majority? That won't happen though because the country is huge. Seriously, because it's so big there are going to be tons of factions all fighting each other for dominance. So it's pretty much completely impossible for any one faction to become an overwhelming majority, especially for some group like the freaking KKK. Sure, they might become big in one state, but they won't be able to affect the entire country. Now you might be thinking that, well, if the elected representatives won't be influenced by factions, then they probably won't be influenced by just the regular people's interests either. So they're probably not even going to be able to do a good job of representing the people. Well, that's okay. That's what the states are there for, to be able to represent the more local interests of the people. So all in all, Mr. Madison here pretty much figured out the best solution to factions in his Federalist 10. Because we live in a large representative republic, factions don't rule the country, elected representatives do, and they have to be elected, so they have to be good or else no one will vote for them. In addition, there are going to be several factions throughout the entire country. No one faction is going to be able to take over every single one. So no group of people is going to be able to just straight up take over the entire United States. So I hope you're all having a good day, and if you enjoyed this video, then today is your lucky day. Because if you leave a like on this video, you'll get your very own legendary Pokemon.